Hey leaders, welcome to week 2 of our culture series as leaders in MSCKids. Last week we talked all about our vision of never too young to change the world, and I shared a personal story with you guys about my experience at a young age as a 4th grader, feeling empowered even as young as I was. Well, that ties us in perfectly to what we're learning about today. We want to lead from a place of calling. You know, our past experiences, they shape who we are, but they also give us that conviction and that desire to want to be able to lead. And that also helps align with God's call in our lives because God was the one that put you through that season in that time to place that burden on your heart. And let's just go ahead and set the record straight here for a second. We are all called to ministry in some form or fashion. It says in Matthew 28, right before Jesus left his disciples, that they were to go, not just to think about it, but to go and make disciples of all nations, right? That sounds pretty straightforward to me. That sounds like a mandate straight from the Lord saying, as disciples, as followers of Christ, we all have a role in God's kingdom. But sometimes it's unclear what that role might be. You know, I know for you serving at MSCKids, it can even be a little bit fuzzy at times, knowing, am I in the right role? Well, I want to bring us into 1 Corinthians chapter 12 here, and it's talking all about the parts of the body. And let's go ahead and dissect this as we go along. Verse 16, it says, suppose the foot says, I'm not a hand, so I don't belong to the body. By saying this, it cannot stop being part of the body. Okay, let's put this into MSCKids perspective. I'm on the worship team, so I can't be part of a small group. I'm on the Connect team, so I can't hold a baby. I'm in the nursery area, so I can't teach a lesson. Well, we're all part of God's body. And so we all belong to the bigger picture of what God is doing here at MSCKids. You know, He's called each of us to own the ministry and to be part of it too. Let's keep on going. Suppose the ear says, I am not an eye, so I don't belong to the body. By saying this, it cannot stop being part of the body. If the whole body were an eye, how could it hear? If the whole body were an ear, how could it smell? God has placed each part, each one of you, in the body, just as He wanted it to be. If all the parts were the same, how could there be a body? As it is, there are many parts, but there is only one body. The eye can't say to the hand, I don't need you. The head can't say to the feet, I don't need you. In fact, it's just the opposite. The parts of the body that seem to be weaker are the ones we can't do without. The parts that we think are less important, we treat with special honor. The private parts aren't shown, but they are treated with special care. The parts that can be shown don't need special care, but God has put together all the parts of the body, and He has given more honor to the parts that didn't have any. In that way, the parts of the body will not take sides. All of them will take care of one another. Let's look at that again. All will take care of one another. If one part suffers, every part suffers with it. If one part is honored, every part shares in its joy. You are the body of Christ. Each one of you is a part of it. So what I would encourage you to do is even think through the way that you're serving in ministry right now. Are you serving as a foot when you're really a hand? Are you serving as an ear when you're really a heart? Think through, am I serving in alignment with the call that God has placed on my life? Or am I just a warm body filling the room? Do you feel like a warm body today? Please, talk to me. I would love to have a personal conversation with you about why you feel that way and how we can, as a ministry and as a team, come alongside of you, just like it says right here. If one part suffers, every part suffers with it. You see, if you're not stepping into the calling, the God-given, unique calling that God has for you individually, then we all suffer. Let's build each other up in the unique calling that God has for all of us. And I want to go ahead and encourage you with one final thought here, and it's in 2 Timothy 6, and it says this, for this reason I remind you, MSCKids leaders, I remind you to fan into the flame the gift of God, which is in you through the laying on of my hands. Now, don't miss this. For the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid. The things that you have walked through, those things that have shaped your calling, do not make us fearful. But instead, they give us power, love, and self-discipline. If I had feared stepping into kids ministry because I remember the days as a fourth grader that I didn't like it, man, I wouldn't even be in ministry right now. We can't let the fear of what was once hold us back from what God is calling us into. So leaders, my encouragement for you today is lead with a sense of calling. Lead knowing that God has called you in this position for such a time as this, that He has your best in mind, and He wants to align your heart with His. Thank you guys so much for serving within MSC Kids. If you ever feel like you're not leading from a place of calling and you're just filling a spot in the body, talk to someone. Talk to me, talk to Judy, talk with one of your leads. We would love to help you identify what is God's unique call in your life. Let's lead with calling.